Back in the 1980s, you had to prepare your playlists in advance, and that process could take hours. One mistake, one song that's a little bit too long, and you had to start over from scratch. That's because if you wanted to take your music with you, you had to use one of these. These days, cassettes are surrounded by nostalgia, but very few people remember what it was actually like to use them. I recently got back into using this portable cassette player, and after listening to some old tapes, I wondered whether I could make one with my actual playlist. Today, we are going to recreate the whole process using the original vintage equipment and find out whether, after all this time, I can still make something that's better than just listening to Spotify. Let's go! So, welcome! Here is my modest setup. The heart of the system is this 2009 NAD C355BEE integrated amplifier. It has the best from both worlds. From the digital world, it has a serial port, so I can control its volume knob by pressing buttons on my computer. But it also has a tape recorder output, so I can connect my tape recorder's input to this amplifier, and whatever the signal is currently being played through the loudspeakers will also be sent to the tape recorder for recording. It actually even has two tape recorder inputs and outputs, one for my reel-to-reel recorder and another one for my Oryx PCX60AD cassette deck. It's a very simple cassette deck. It only has one motor, no tape calibration, no monitoring, but it plays and records very good. And what's more important, it looks really beautiful. I play most of my music through this TDA-1543 based deck that I bought from some maker on eBay in the same 2009. DAC stands for Digital to Analog Converter. It's a device that converts digital data into an analog signal, which can then be amplified and reproduced through loudspeakers. Your phone, computer, or TV is using one right now, so you can hear me. DACs are everywhere these days, and in most devices, they're just a part of some tiny microchip. We, audio enthusiasts, however, use standalone DACs like this one. In the name of art, it employs vintage Philips TDA-1543 DAC chips that could be found in CD players from the late 80s. So even when listening to music streamed online, you can still do it in style. Today we'll also be recording from vinyl, and for that I got this, again, very modest, very basic Technics SLB3 belt-driven turntable with Grado black cartridge. I might have undersold it a little. It's basic for its time. Compared to modern turntables, it's higher end. It also has a number of quirky 70s era features that I always took for granted, until I realized most other turntables don't have them. It is connected to this Chinese Yakin MS-23B phono preamp that I modified, following the instructions on the internet, to replace the transistor-based buffer with a vacuum tube one. So now it has no silicon-based semiconductors in the signal path and gives proper, full vacuum tube sound experience. Today, I want to record a 90 minutes cassette. This is the cassette that I will be using. Maxell UR90. A pretty decent cassette. Not the best cassette ever, of course, but good enough for use in a portable Soviet cassette player. And the music that I want to record, I have the mood for What's the Story Morning Glory, I think. The problem with that is that this album has a length of 50 minutes. While one side of this cassette, knowing from my experience, has around 46.5 minutes worth of tape. So the last track of the album will definitely need to be in the side too. And now the side will be too short. We'll have to fast forward through almost 4 minutes of silence and waste tape, time, and battery life. Maybe this needs a bit more explanation. In an ideal scenario, when the last song on one side of the tape ends, the tape itself should end as well. If you're using a higher-end cassette player equipped with an auto-reverse system, it will detect that the tape has reached the end and automatically start playing in the opposite direction. You might get only about 10 seconds of silence between the last song on one side and the first song on the other. But if you record only 42 minutes of music onto a 45-minute cassette, you'll be left with 3 minutes of blank tape. Even in the 90s, when our brains hadn't yet been fried by TikTok, we wouldn't tolerate 3 minutes of silence. You'd have to reach for the player, press the fast forward button, wait for the tape to advance, which isn't exactly a fast process, then either flip the cassette manually, or, if you have a higher-end player, start playback in the opposite direction. The auto-reverse feature you paid money for is effectively wasted. That's why you always want to fill those blank spaces at the end of the tape. But that can be a pretty risky endeavor, because if you push it too far, the tape may run out before the song ends. Let's see what happens. What can we do about it? Well, yeah, this is a nice song from the previous album. Now, still too long, I guess. The Swamp song goes to... well, it's pretty risky. As we will be very tight on the tape, I will wind through all the leader tape just at the very beginning of the magnetic tape, and I'll start recording, and then I'll immediately give the signal, so that we start recording right from the beginning of the tape, and don't waste any. Another important step when recording on a magnetic tape is setting proper recording levels. Set them too high and you'll get distorted sound. Set them too low and you'll not be able to take full advantage of the rich dynamic range provided by the tape, which will result in flatter sounds and excessive tape noise. Proper recording levels can vary from album to album as they depend on mastering, so it is very important to check them before recording anything. To do that, let's start some song. Go to the center. To avoid copyright strikes, and we need to make sure that here these volume indicators reach 0 but never surpass it. As we see, recording levels are already okay here. Now, another important step specific to my configuration. When I start the playback, my DAC sends a short impulse to its output. It is usually notable, but it will be recorded on the tape. And I don't want it to be recorded on the tape. I am a perfectionist. For that case, I have a silent 10 seconds WAV file that I will add to the beginning of my playlist. So I will start the playback here. The will go through, and when the 10 seconds silent WAV file is at second 6, I will start recording on the tape recorder, and thus will begin the recording from the very beginning on the tape. Let's do it. While we are still recording here, we should add some 10 seconds silent WAV files to the end of the playlist, because this DAC, when it turns off, it also sends an... And I don't want this to be recorded on my cassette. The tape is running out, but the music is still playing. I may have miscalculated the length of my playlist, and now the last song won't fit in the cassette. At this point, I'm faced with a dilemma. Either leave it as it is and listen to the song that gets cut off every time I play the tape, or erase everything and start over from scratch. Yeah, there was just enough tape in the cassette. Wow! It's perfect. Whew, so much tension. Now, let's record the other side. So we have 38 minutes of time remaining on this cassette. And what I want to record is this. That's a Soviet release of Space's 1977 Magic Flight. So let's turn on the preamp. The vacuum tubes are nice and red. First, we'll have to just set the recording levels. So let's put this somewhere in the center of the track. And then make sure that the peaks are reaching 0. As we see, this preamp has a much lower output level than my DAC. And we're basically ready to start recording. Let's turn up the volume, press play, close the lid. And then unpause. Okay, let's flip the disc. Let's flip the record. Ooh. It's not very clean on this side. What the hell was that, you will ask? And it is a Soviet release of Space's Magic Flight. It was censored. The indecent last track was replaced with Just Blue from the subsequent album. And many Soviet and Russian music lovers, including myself, who listened to this version of the album for a very long time, we actually think that this way the already fantastic records actually got even better. This album was first published in the USSR in 1993, after the band did 21 shows in Moscow, St. Petersburg and Kiev. Unlike other Soviet Western music releases that had more than dubious legality, this record was actually licensed from Vogue, from the original French publisher. As in all the other Western music releases in the USSR, the song names were translated. And the translations were not very good. For example, the Ballad for Space Lovers is translated as just a ballad, and The Flying Nightmare is translated as Delusion. The Velvet Rape they translated as Polite Kidnapping. And when I started to investigate this, I ended up investigating what does the word rape really mean in modern English, in medieval English, what do cognate words mean in different Latin-based languages, including French. That's a topic for another video. But the very title of the album, Magic Fly, was translated as Magic Flight. Didn't they just have a dictionary or what? And the cover of this release in my opinion, is again better than the original cover. And even this non-original cover was also censored, because in the original Soviet print of this album, Ditya Mahoney was wearing some sort of a cross. And the factory already printed thousands of these album covers when the censors saw them and ordered to destroy them all. Valery Sukharada, the manager of the Melody Factory, that many of you in my comments called Russian William Shatner, was outraged. But he couldn't do much thing, and almost all the produced covers were destroyed. The album with the original cover is now a rarity and a collectible item. But there still is some tape left in the cassette, so let's record something from another source. For example, let's after all record something from this reel-to-reel tape recorder. But first, let's clean all this up. Let's block the tone arm. Let's turn this off. The record that I want to copy today is this 1987 Soviet synthpop. It is a 2011 analog re-release from original master tapes. So let's open it. There are some pictures here. There's a booklet. What do we have here? Some info. And here is the reel. I won't be needing these adapters. Let's remove them. Let's also replace this reel with a reel of an appropriate size. The song that I want to copy is actually on the side 2. So let's put it like this. This tape recorder has a quite particular tape path. Let's stop it somewhere here to adjust the recording levels. This amplifier is pretty cool. It also allows you to copy from one tape recorder to another. You just activate both tape recorders at the same time. Now let's press play here. And adjust the recording levels here. As we can see, my reel-to-reel tape recorder output levels are slightly higher than my phono preamp output levels. Let's just bring it down. Yeah, looks good now. Now let's rewind the tape to the beginning. You will not believe me, there still is some tape left here. 3 to 4 minutes easily. So, there is one source left, and it is this Soviet CD player. I showed both of my only Soviet CDs in my Soviet compact disc player video, so today let's just play something normal. It is my drunk purchase from the 2024 Rock and Sane. The track 10 will be a perfect outro for today's mix. Oops. It breaks every day. Please work. Well, it ended more or less. Well, it even has some sense. Well, 22 minutes of your time, 2 hours of mine, and now it's ready. The next step will be to go out and test this cassette in the cassette player.